Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Jim, great to see you. Joanne, nice to see you too. Dave, Bill, welcome everyone. We have a full house tonight, so if I don't get a chance to welcome you personally, hi Katie, I see you there also. I do want to say a very big welcome to everybody. Given that we're a few minutes early here, I just want to spend a couple of seconds with some tips and housekeeping. So for those of you that are joining us via iPad, in the upper right-hand corner, if you tap the screen, this should also work on a phone or tablet, you should see more. If you click on that, you should be able to see a chat button. For those of you on a computer, that chat button should be in the lower left-hand corner. Tonight, we're going to use that. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, we're happy to answer questions either throughout the presentation or at the end. Please enter them in there. If you have anything personal that you would like to have us answer as well, that chat is turned into a private chat right now, so only our team will be able to see that. So feel free to enter it, and if we don't get to it during the presentation tonight, or it's a little too personal or specific to answer on the group call, we're happy to reach out and help answer that for you. After this evening, one thing I am going to give to you guys is the commitment to spend an hour answering any questions you may have privately. There'll be no obligations, and we will make our calendar available. So if you do have really specific personal questions, we are more than happy to answer them. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We do have a full house, and I really do want to respect your time. So I'm going to start right on time here. And again, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge how happy I am to be here. I feel really grateful. I am very lucky that I enjoy my job. I enjoy doing what I do. And that's a privilege. I get that, to be able to be here and sharing with you information that I really am happy to do. That is a wonderful thing. You know, I enjoy learning about taxes, investments, and getting to think strategically and put the piece of the puzzles together for you. And more than that, it's such a great feeling after you spend time helping people label their goals, visualize their plans, work to put strategies and implement them, to be a part of celebrating. There's no better feeling than going out and celebrating retirement with dinner or the sale of a business or something like that. So I'm very happy to be here with you tonight and sharing with you guys. Just a little bit of a background in terms of who I am and who's talking to you. My name is Lindsay Kilgore. I am the principal here at the Kilgore Group, IG Wealth Management. I have been a financial planner now for over 12 years. I became a certified financial planner in 2012 when I had the honor of joining the president's list for the second highest score in the country. I truly believe that it is extremely important to have the expertise and the knowledge behind a plan. So since then, I have continued my education, getting my CSC, my CPH, my MFA philanthropy, and using those skills and that knowledge to create a really personal plan for you. Outside of being a financial planner, I am, of course, a person. I am a mother of two incredible kids. I have a 5-year-old daughter, Evelyn, and a soon-to-be 4-year-old daughter, Elena. I have an incredibly supportive husband, Scott, and we enjoy spending time as a family out at camp, hiking, and traveling when we're not doing this. Along with me, I have a wonderful team of experts and a team wrapped around me here at the office. I have Jake, who's the newest member of our team. He brings a wealth of knowledge from the industry and a new perspective to the team. After graduation, Jake pursued his hockey career for 5 years throughout North America and Europe. And later he obtained his MBA from Edinburgh Business School. Jacob has a variety of experience in the financial industry, including roles in small business, capital markets, merchant banking, all before joining IG. Chandra, another team member who's here with us this evening. Chandra brings a ton of enthusiasm to the team. She is currently completing her MBA at Laurentian University and has actually recently completed her CSC and is in the process of being promoted to associate. Along with us, we also have Erin. Erin is our executive assistant, and she is in charge of client servicing and contacts. With her 15 years of experience, she brings a wealth of knowledge and is great at putting the client first and getting things done. So we're very lucky to have her here as part of our team. Within IG and within the Kilgore Group, we believe in comprehensive financial planning. So the primary focus of many others in our industry is the performance of your portfolio. And that's great. It's extremely important to have superior risk-adjusted returns. But that's not the only piece of the portfolio. The full plan really does need to come together. So tonight we're here to talk to you about retirement and retirement planning, but that's by no means the whole thing in terms of what we do. We just have a limited amount of time and we want to respect your time this evening. So tonight we're going to talk to you a little bit about what does peace of mind look like in retirement. We're going to touch on efficient income in retirement. We're going to talk a little bit about sharing your wealth and then putting it together, who we are and who the Kilgore Group is and our process as a team. So let me start this evening by asking you, what does peace of mind look like in retirement? You know, that's a tough question. The answer is different for everyone, of course. But when we did do a survey, there were a few consistent themes around what was needed for people to feel confident in their retirement. And those centered around things like maintaining lifestyle, making sure that lifestyle lasts, protecting your assets. That kind of goes along with making sure what you're spending is the right amount and that you're able to do that. Staying healthy and living a long life, and then leaving a legacy behind. And for each of these goals, there happen to be specific realities and risks and actions you can take to achieve them. So we're going to spend a little time this evening focusing on each of these and what the impact they have on your retirement is. So first and foremost, retirement is not an event. It is a journey. It is an ongoing process. So before we can talk about confidence in retirement, you need to start by clarifying what your goals are. What do you want retirement to look like? And again, this isn't a one time that you think about this question and you answer it. It's going to change. It's an ongoing process. So we need to look at that and think about that. Throughout your retirement, there is going to be a will spend, need to spend. These are what I need to achieve the base goals of living, paying rent or my mortgage or whatever the case may be. But then there's going to be that might spend. I want to travel. I want to go to Florida for the winter. I want to golf. These types of goals and experience. And as you move through retirement, these numbers and these categories are going to shift. Will spend may go up. I need a new roof or a new furnace. Might spend could go down. I didn't get to travel this year. Might spend may go up. I'm hoping to take an even bigger trip next year. And we build that into the plan and we look at the whole thing. What will you spend? What might you spend? What are you going to leave behind for legacy? And once you have an idea of what that is, what that goal really is, then we can discuss creating confidence in your ability to achieve that goal. When you talk about creating confidence, one of the big things that we need to talk about and look at is, do you have income sustainability? So now you know what you want to spend, can you? You know, 58% of Canadians are worried about making their funds stretch through retirement. 64% of Canadians find it hard to balance wanting to enjoy life now with what if I live too long or I outlive my funds? And that really brings into the question longevity. How long will I live? And I don't have the answer for you. I don't have a crystal ball. However, we can look at some things when it comes to averages. And this chart here shows averages. So the average 60-year-old male will live to 83. The average 60-year-old female will live to 86. And the average 60-year-old couple will have at least one member live to 90. And when you talk about averages, it's really important to remember that 50% are going to be above average. That's the definition. So that means that longevity is something you really do have to plan for. If you are going to live past 90, that's a long period of time that you need your income to be sustainable for retirement. For some people, they'll actually be retired longer than they were working. So that brings up not only longevity, but it also brings up the question of inflation. This is the effect of inflation. If you bought a hamburger, for example, in the 1960s, you paid 15 cents. Today, that costs you $1.29. That's a really important distinction because not only knowing that prices go up and they will continue to go up, but the reason it's really important is nobody sets the goal of, I want $10,000 a month because they want $10,000 a month. You set that goal because you want the lifestyle that $10,000 a month buys you today. That's a really big distinction. And it's a really important piece of the puzzle. And the longer you live, the bigger the impact inflation is going to have on that for you. So here's another way to look at it. If you have $1 million today, what can you buy in 25 years? At 2% inflation, you can buy $615,000. At 3% inflation, you can buy $481,000 worth. At 4% inflation, which is not an unreasonable number to look at, that $1 million of today's money is only going to buy you $375,000 worth of stuff in 25 years. So if you want to live $1 million lifestyle, what do you need to have so that you can still live that $1 million lifestyle in 25 years? And for some people, the answer is, I need to have enough money that the ending number in 25 years is $1 million. And that is great. For others, you have pensions that keep pace with inflation. However, for a lot of people out there, it's about having investments that are going to keep pace with inflation. And what I mean by that is considering that, say, GICs, for example, do not keep pace with inflation. The stock market, theoretically and historically, has outperformed inflation. The problem is the answer isn't as simple as then, well, I need an equity portfolio, because inflation isn't the only concern. We also have to take into account volatility. So when you are in the accumulation phase, volatility is actually a good thing. It may not feel good in the moment, but it is a good thing. If you stick in the markets, through the bull markets, the bear markets, the sideways markets, through the accumulation phase, it will actually help you to build more value. The problem is in the retirement phase or the distribution phase, that volatility actually works against you. And what I mean by that is this: poor early returns in retirement can really have an effect on your plan, and they can really hurt your plan. So sequence of returns matters a lot in retirement. Best way to go through that, in my opinion, is an example. So think of this: if you had $100,000 with a 5% average rate of return, and you wanted to spend $600 a month, what would that look like? Well, if we assume that that 5% average rate of return, instead of being an average rate of return, is instead a consistent rate of return, i.e. 5% every single year, then you're going to run out of money at age 89. But what happens when we look at sequence of returns? Because an average rate of 5% is not 5% year over year, it's an average. So let's use this as an example. What if in year one you had a 5% rate of return, in year two it was minus 15, and by year three it was plus 25? That is an average rate of return of 5%. You still want to take the same $600 a month from your $100,000 portfolio. All of a sudden now you run out of money at age 83. That's 6 years earlier. And that is with the same average rate of return. So what does that mean? That means sequence of returns really did matter. Let's look at it going the other way. Same rates of return, same average of 5%, but this time we're going to talk about going 5%, 25% minus 15%. How does changing the order of those returns make a difference? Well, now your money's going to last till 87. Better than 83, still not as good as 89, because even in year three is fairly early to have a substantial dip of 15%. So you need to consider a sequence of returns. Let's look at a real world example. This is a graph that Fidelity Investments, which is a well-known money manager, has created. It is designed to show you the performance of a diversified portfolio with 50% in equities, 35% in bonds, and 15% in shorter term investments. They portray an average, consistent long-term rate of return of 5.9%, and it's adjusted to 2.5 inflation. With this portfolio, they're assuming that you want to withdraw 5% a year, inflation adjusted. And the question is, how long will my funds last? And in this particular case, it looks like you're good. They're going to last past age 100. But what happens when we factor in sequence of returns? 5.9 isn't the annual amount, it's the average amount. So here's what we did. We actually used industry-leading software to stress test the probability that your income expectations would be met using thousands of permutations of potential future return scenarios. So essentially, we looked at all different types of sequence of returns and said, what does that do when you're drawing down on this portfolio? And for some, it was good. However, if you're that unlucky person who had a major dip early on in the portfolio, if you happen to retire in 2007, for example, then you had some serious risk in there. The earliest the portfolio ran out using these scenarios was 78 years old. There's a big difference between 78 years old and well past 100. the sequence of returns matters. It makes a big difference. So what does that mean? Well, it means we need to look at diversification. And this isn't the old diversification. This isn't, having a well-diversified portfolio is the solution to the problem. The reality is you now need to consider having not just a well-diversified portfolio, but diversification of withdrawal strategy and where you're going to withdraw from. Diversification of tax strategy, multiple income streams, so that if there is a dip in a market, that's not where you're withdrawing from at that point. We really do need to have a different type of diversification that goes across everything. And along with having a diversified portfolio, and we talk about rates of return and that sort of thing, you also need to have an idea of what a reasonable stream of income is from a portfolio. And what I mean by that is this: sequence of returns matters. Rate of return definitely matters. But if you're taking too much out of your investments, doesn't matter what the sequence of return is, you're going to run out of money. So this chart shows an example based on a moderate portfolio back into the 1970s, showing all through different types of markets what withdrawal rate had what effect on the portfolio and when they ran out of money. Here's another way to look at it. If you are a moderate investor and you intend to withdraw somewhere between 3 and 4% of what you have invested, you are probably going to be okay. Now, if you're a moderate investor and your plan requires you to withdraw 7 or 8% of what you have invested, now you're in the danger zone. So you have to look at that and you have to come up with a withdrawal strategy as well. And if you're pre-retirement and you still have time to save, great. How much do you have to have saved? Now, if you're a little closer to retirement or in retirement, then we need to look at this from the other angle. This is how much you have saved. What can you reasonably look to withdraw and live off of to have that last? How much can you take out of your investment portfolio to supplement your other types of income? And that's what we really need to look at. So once you've had some time and you've decided what your goals are and how much you want to spend in retirement, then we've looked at, can you actually spend that much in retirement when we take into account sequence of returns, diversification, longevity, withdrawal strategies. The next thing we really need to look at is creating a retirement paycheck, putting all of this together, and how does that work? And not only making that retirement paycheck work for you and give you the cash flow you need, but also making it efficient. 50% of Canadians leave money on the table. 42% only understand how capital gains are taxed. That means more than half the population doesn't. Fewer than 1/3 understand how dividend income is treated. Our tax act is complex and it is consistently evolving. It's constantly changing. It's really important that you're working with somebody who understands that and brings that into the picture to create your retirement paycheck. Not all types of income are taxed the same. So we're in Ontario, and in Ontario, there are different types of income, and the type of income you earn is taxed differently, but also taxed differently where you earn it. So just as important as knowing how much you're going to make, you also need to know how much you're going to keep. I might even argue that's more important, because if you are going to only keep less than 50% of it, you may need to earn more. So it's really important to realize not only what type of income you're going to earn, but also where you're going to earn it. Because whether you earn it in a tax-free savings account, RSP, corporation, non-registered account, also weighs in on how it's taxed and how it's treated. In some cases, you can have return of capital. And return of capital can allow for 10 to 15 years of tax-free cash flow while deferring your income. In some cases, that makes sense. But we also need to look at, is deferring income always the best strategy? Or maybe deferring income makes a lot of sense while you're saving money. And in some cases, when you get to the retirement phase, the distribution phase, it makes sense to do what we call tax leveling. Should you be pulling a little bit more out of your RSPs now at a lower rate instead of deferring and having to pay more tax in the future? Is that going to affect things like your old age security clawback? Is it going to affect the value of your estate? These are all pieces of the puzzle that need to be put together when you have a strategic plan of how to create that retirement paycheck. Again, in my opinion, the best way to learn something is to walk through it with an example. So we're going to spend a little time with Jen and Joe. Jen and Joe are clients. Their names have been changed as of some numbers. But Jen and Joe are clients, and they've been clients for years. We've spent a lot of time discussing their goals, their dreams, what they want retirement to look like. We've determined that they want to spend approximately $13,000 a month. They want to go back to Italy every year to visit. They want to be able to continue going to their winter home in Florida. And they want to be able to not be worried about this lifestyle. They want to do it in the most efficient way. So Jen and Joe, as I mentioned, have been clients for years. They've done a really good job of saving and getting to this point. They have RSPs, they have tax-free savings accounts, they have non-registered accounts, they have some private placement. They've actually been able to lend some money to their children in the form of mortgage, which has also created a bit of an income stream for them. And they also have a holding company from a business that Joe previously sold. So they've done really well. We went through the goals and concerns. We went through the, do they have enough money to be able to maintain their lifestyle? We talked about those things. And now we're looking at creating that retirement paycheck in the most efficient way. So the answer is yes, they have enough money to live their retirement lifestyle. We know what they're planning on drawing from. They have the diversification of not only investments, but also of strategy, also of income source. So now that they have that, we don't just stop. We want it to be more efficient. That's the goal. So in this particular case, we looked at some strategies to not only make their lifestyle more efficient for them to spend their money, but also to increase the value of the estate. So how did we do that? First, we talked about managing their taxable income level. So as I mentioned earlier on, in some cases, it does make sense to draw down or create a little more income earlier on than you may want to spend it for long-term efficiencies. So in this particular case, we actually did apply that type of strategy. We had them take a little bit more money out of RSPs and use that money to top up tax-free savings accounts throughout retirement and make sure they were maxed out. In doing that, we were actually able to increase the value to them of their plan by over 17%. The next question that came down the line was, should they take a dividend? So they do have a holding company, they have RSPs, they have non-registered, they have tax-free savings account. So in relation to the previous question was, do we spend all the money first that isn't going to create a tax bill and we'll deal with the tax bill down the line? And the answer was no. In this particular case, we actually want them to take a portion from their RSPs and a portion from the corporation. So we suggested that they take a $5,000 a month dividend, and the balance is going to come from other investments. Next, we looked at CPP. Does it make sense to take CPP at 60, 65, 70? A lot of people realize that you do have the choice, but they don't always realize the implications. So if you take CPP at age 60, you are actually having a reduction in your CPP. That reduction is 36%. If you take CPP at age 70, you actually get an increase. You get a 42% increase over and above what you would have gotten at 65. So the question becomes a few things. One, from a longevity standpoint, when is the break-even time? If I wait to take my CPP until age 70, how long do I have to live to make sure that I get all of what I would have gotten had I taken it at 60 or 65? The other thing we looked at is, along with longevity, is it a different income stream? Diversifying by income stream. The answer is yes. It is guaranteed from a protection standpoint. It also is indexed to inflation. So how does that affect your plan? And in this particular case, after discussing this, looking at family history and longevity, we opted to take CPP at age 70. That increased the value of the plan by almost 2%. The last thing we looked at here is one that is often overlooked, but from a tax planning perspective can have a difference. So many people realize that they have to convert their RSPs to RIFs around 71. Some people know that number, some don't. And they just assume that because that's when they have to do it, that's when they should do it. And that's actually not always the case. There's something called the pension tax credit. And if you have a defined benefit pension, you get the pension tax credit. For those people who don't, in this case, these clients, they don't get that pension tax credit unless they withdraw from a RIF after 65 years old. So if they take that money out of an RSP, it does not qualify for the pension tax credit. It actually has to be a regular RIF withdrawal for it to qualify. So we took a portion of those RSPs and converted them earlier to a RIF so that they could take advantage of that pension tax credit. And all in all, we created a tax efficient retirement paycheck. Combination of money coming from CPP, OAS, RSPs, RIFs, dividends, non-registered accounts to create this paycheck. And when you look at this retirement paycheck, what you'll notice is there is no red. There are no shortfalls. Had there been shortfalls, we would obviously have to go back and reassess. But in this particular case, there were no shortfalls. So now that's great news. It's always what we like to see. So we asked the question, are you happy with this? Is there something more you want to do? You'd said you want to spend a few weeks in Italy. Do you maybe want to spend a month? Do you want to go to France instead for a month before? How do you want that to look? And the answer might be in this particular case, no, we're okay. We really are living our dreams with everything we've built into this. We're happy with what we've done. So then the question becomes, okay, great. Is there a charity, someone you want to donate the money to? Perhaps that's the answer. If that's the answer, great. IGM is a huge believer in supporting charities and not-for-profits. I myself have my Master Financial Advisor in Philanthropy. I would be happy to spend some time looking at more efficient ways to donate funds and have your money go further and do some tax planning around that. If the answer is, yeah, we're not quite ready to give it away to charity, we don't want to spend more, we just want to have a buffer. We want to feel that we have that buffer at the end, and if we never spend it, have it be of value to our estate. Great. That was the answer in this case. So then we took some time and we looked at the estate. In this particular case, those changes we made increased the value of the estate by almost $2 million. There was $1 million in tax savings there. So we're not going to get into estate planning tonight. That is its own seminar. As a matter of fact, we have done one with the local lawyer, Linda Laxo of MLA. We're happy to share a link to that if you have any interest. But what I will say is, after you've done your retirement plan and as part of your retirement plan, you should also move on to the estate plan. Do not assume that you will have your money go to your beneficiaries or your spouse or your kids. The only beneficiary who's guaranteed to get money if you don't have a will is CRA. So you need to have a will. You also need to have powers of attorney. That is a part of your retirement plan. Don't assume that your spouse can make decisions for you if you become incapacitated. That is not always the case. They may have to go to court. It could be complicated. That should actually be part of your retirement plan. But without going down a rabbit hole and getting too off course, now that we have looked at your goal, we have a plan for your investments, we have a plan for your withdrawal rate, we've done your tax planning, are we done? And the answer is no. We need to stress test to ensure confidence. Earlier on, we asked, what do you need to be confident in your retirement? And again, those themes came up. So now we have to stress test for each of those things that will provide you confidence in your retirement. What if I live longer? How does my plan look if I live an extra 10 years? What happens if inflation is higher? What if instead of the 2.2% that it's been annually, all of a sudden it's 3%, 4%? How does that affect my plan? Can I still live the lifestyle I want to live? Sequence of returns. What happens if I'm that unlucky person and the market crashes right after I retire and it takes a few years to recover? How does that affect my plan? Am I protected? Do I have different sources of income that I can go to from that? What about disappointing returns overall? Year over year, the expectation of returns has changed. What happens if my portfolio just doesn't perform the way I wanted it to? And we stress test all of this. We look at each piece so that you can have confidence in your retirement. And again, retirement is not a moment. It is not a single decision. The only constant in life is change. So that change needs to be reflected in your plan. It needs to be adjusted. Every year we have to look at what changed in that will spend, may spend, won't spend. How does that happen moving forward? And really, that is what our plan is. That is what our process is. We operate around you. We help you set your goals, define them, look at them, create a plan. We work with your personal advisors whether that be accountants and lawyers you already have. We bring in our in-house specialists, tax and estate specialists, and we wrap our team around you as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we are the Kilgore Group. And as the Kilgore Group, we are part of the IGM family. So IGM actually has 3 distinctive branches. They have their asset management, they have their strategic investment, and then they have their wealth management side. So the Kilgore Group, we actually operate under the wealth management branch, under the Investors Group Securities Inc., which is the IROC side of IG Wealth Management. So that's sort of how we fit into that picture. And part of the reason we've decided to partner and build a business with IGM is access to their world-class partnerships. As an IROC licensed team, we can choose any investment that fits. We can do stocks, bonds, ETFs, but we like to leverage the strategic partnerships that IG has, be it with BlackRock, Aristotle. These are some of the top investment firms in the world, and they have great investment strategies, great knowledge and information that we can use and pass on to our clients. We also have access to some of the top insurance companies in Canada from an estate planning perspective. We can look at all different pieces and ways of strategizing. Lines of credit, mortgages as well. We bring that into the fold. The whole plan is designed and wrapped around you. And when we talk about resources that we have access to, it's not just the investment side of things. As we mentioned, we believe in holistic planning, and that means having specialists on the planning side of things. Christine Van Kallenberg is one of the top estate lawyers in the country. She speaks at seminars across the country, has written multiple books, and she is a great person to have in your corner if legacy planning is something that's important to you. She'll work with your local lawyer. They'll talk back and forth and bounce ideas off each other. Jack Courtney, another huge wealth of knowledge. And it's based on what you need. So if you need to look at business succession planning, we bring in those experts. We have cross-border experts. If you're going to live part of the year in Florida, for example, we look at legacy planning, retirement planning. We bring in the tax experts if we need to. And really, that is our process. It's building a plan all around you. So it's taking the time to explore your current situation, clarifying your goals and objectives, and then developing a plan around that, around you, customizing your investment program so that it fits within your plan and within your holistic investment strategy and your holistic planning strategy. And then we need to proactively monitor and adjust as life changes. So, moment of truth. Are you confident, or do you need somebody to give you some reassurance? Earlier, I said I love my job. And part of the reason I love my job is because of the people I get to work with. We get to work with people who like us, who want to work together for long-term and achieve goals, who are comfortable sharing their goals and have trust in us and in our process. If you are interested in getting some reassurance and you want to have questions answered, look at it. We are happy to set some time to share stories with you and learn a little bit more about you and see if we can be of a good fit to help you and provide you the confidence you require in your plan. Our commitment to you is to be focused on you, to help provide the confidence you need, keep you informed, to deliver excellent service throughout, and also to be committed to the community. So we're not only helping our clients, but we are helping everybody that we can help and really better our community and use our skills to do that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them. Use that chat feature. If they are group questions, we'll stick around and answer them here. If there's something that might be taken a little bit better offline personally, we will reach out and connect to you that way. There will be a pop-up of my calendar available as well if you'd like to book a time to sit in that, or we'll reach out to you. So thank you so much for taking the time this evening and sharing your evening with us. We are really happy to be here and we look forward to meeting you. Have a wonderful evening and we will be in touch. Any questions?